Welcome, everybody. This is the Nostradamus weekly overview. What to expect this week on CL. I am Lord Sean Connery, and my friend Mohammed
Hello.
is here as well. And we're going to just kind of go over some charts, just some thoughts, kind of see what the fuck is going to go on and get an idea of what's going to happen. So, first chart that we have is the weekly of CL. Is this the full session or the day session?
This is the full session.
Full session, cool. All right. So as you can kind of see, for the past few months, the weekly um, the weekly exploration has been pretty meh. Just been kind of balancing around the mid 60s, kind of going back and forth between time frame up, neutral, and so on and so forth. Nothing really impressive, but we've had some pretty wide ranges the past 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks, pretty interesting. The thing to kind of look for is, that right now the weekly time frame is neutral, and when we start out this new week, if we take out last week's low, it's going to shift it to down. And for larger time frame participants, that might, scurry up um, some thoughts on, hey, you know what, we might need to go ahead and release positions, just for those people that operate on those, kind of time frames. Let's go ahead and take a look at the daily, though. Daily is probably
Daily.
going to paint a bigger picture. This fucker is definitely time framing down. I mean, it's ever since we poked the highs and had that really shitty close the Friday, that Friday. This thing has been, yeah, and that the particular Friday that we talked about, when we talked about last week's kind of weekly overview, that Friday was super suspect because even though we had a nice breakout and some volume ravaging to the upside, the close and the full session was below the open, and it just looked like a total rejection. So here, since we've been time framing down and we've broken some pretty key lows, Friday's day was within Thursday. Thursday was a pretty huge down day, and yeah, we've seemed to really start to challenge this LVN just above 60, and that is a pretty kind of a big do or die zone, I would say. So if I mean buyers, there might be some prospects in the market that say oil looks too cheap. This is a really good deal. And if shorts, try to pound it lower, and the buyers just go ahead and muster up the strength to bring this out, this could pop back into balance around 63. That is one possibility. So really, it depends on holding that area. Um, so we could also take a look below and fail. We could probe 60 and below the last week's low, and we may not even find interest. We might find that, that there's not going to be any interest in terms of um, sellers exploring too lower, and buyers might find it so cheap that they're going to go ahead and scoop it up. We might see a rejection out of that area. So one possible scenario, and this is not in any particular order, is the fact that we might test lower and just not do anything at all. Might find a lack of interest, and we may spring back up. And we have to get over some volume that has been traded in the Thursday and Friday session. And the spring back up would be to come back into balance in that 63 area. That is a heavily traded amount of volume over that period that you have overlaid, ever since that huge swing low down in the low 50s. I think that's like sub 50. So that's one possible scenario. Um, since Friday was an inside day relative to Thursday, which was really, really, really huge day. There was a lot of volume traded near the lows and a lot of volume traded on Friday, pretty much within Thursday's range. There's a lot of interest there. So another possibility is that we might float on up and attempt to get back up into that 63. I don't know if you want to go. Yeah, you can mark that with maybe like another color.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, there
trying
we
to
go.
get it. Grab the red. I think this is the red. All right, pink.
So we might attempt to get to 63 and say, nope, yeah, we're not able to hold that area. We find new sellers, and this comes and breaks that 60 and magnets to another well traded price around the mid 57 to 58. So about what, 57.50? Yeah, just roughly around that area, between 57 and 58.
Yeah, about 57
Yeah,
70s.
57 70s. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are, in my opinion, those are the two main like big scenarios that could come on out, and it may not happen like instantaneously on the start of the week like we had on last week, but yeah, it might take some time. We might, see some effort, the red scenario, we might see that effort go through the first few days, and then we might see it play out. um, in terms of tomorrow, I mean, actually, to tell you the truth, like really tomorrow is kind of the not the do or die, but the key deciding day. It's either tomorrow or Tuesday. Sometimes Mondays are boring. We might have another day, an inside day within an inside day. We might be forming some more balance at the lows, and then that might go ahead and initiate some sort of directional move. We might have it to where we break around that little mini balance that is being done in the low 60s, and then from there we might test lower then reject, or we might just spill lower. That's another alternate, is we just might shit the bed and say fuck it, let's just go ahead and go to 57.70. So that's the tertiary hypothesis. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's just the thought of what might go on.
yeah, I agree. I agree with your thoughts. I'm just gonna switch the charts to a weekly profile or maybe even the daily. So I pretty much am seeing the same exact thing as you are. So last Friday we had that pretty sus reaction where the expectation for
Yeah,
last week was that the market may check the VPOC. We didn't, so it didn't really quite make it to VPOC, but it did attempt higher before continuing lower. So
yeah,
last week's scenario of the move higher rejection, that played out very nicely. And as you said, we have been time framing down. So the same thing that
yeah.
caught your
VPOC
eyes,
shifting and
yes,
value shifting. It's
yep,
not pretty for buyers.
yes. So the same thing that caught your eyes though is catching my eyes as well, which is Friday was an inside day. Now, based on, I mean, this is pretty granular, but the fact that the market, so we had an attempt higher. I'm not sure if that color is good. Let's try maybe yellow. And then, so we had this initial attempt higher, and then the market had a pullback. So this looked like a higher low. And
Hmm.
from here, you would expect that you would get a new high, but we didn't. Instead, we had a lower high. So for me, I'm sort of expecting that the market does continue lower. And like you, one of my scenarios, I'm just gonna hop on this chart. One of my scenarios is, or really, I feel like this would be my primary scenario, is that this is the prior weekly low, is the market is gonna have a move lower where we may just dip into that low volume node. We may even fill in. So we have a small set of singles as well as a defect print. We may just come in here and then quickly get out that area. So that's my
Hmm.
primary. And if if we're able to sort of quickly reject that lows, I want to say, like, I don't want us to linger in that low volume node. I would really prefer we test it and we're out of it within the same session. From
Yeah.
here, it's literally going to be a move back to the same target as you mentioned, which would be right around the 63s. Because the fact that we have an inside day, I feel like that gives us a more cleaner area to pay attention to because
Hmm.
there's a little bit of acceptance going on. It's not enough where it could where uh it's not enough to a point where like the market has been trading in within it for a few days, but there's finally a small sign that there may be some stabilization. Now, the prior weekly low, like our prior weekly low on a TPO chart, so let me pull up this chart, it doesn't really look that good. Like this doesn't look like there's a very clean excess. I recall even on this day, uh, the market moved lower and we broke that swing low or that low by one tick
Hmm.
before having a reaction higher. So that isn't a solid low that I would say would mark the low. Like that isn't something that I would say is gonna we would revert, we would retrace from it. So that low, sort of expecting it to go. And then my secondary scenario would be, like I said, the same as yours. I would maybe expect the market to, I don't know if we make it all the way back up to VPOC, but if we do, that would be sort of in line with well, relatively in line with the value area high. This is though a multi-distribution profile, so value isn't really a solid lean over here, but it is just something to be aware of where we check that VPOC of the upper distribution, we reject it, move lower, we can take out that low, repair it, and then from here, I would expect the market to really clean through this low volume node. Like, given that it hasn't traded a lot, I would really expect prices to sort of quickly get out of that area and then make its way towards this high volume node around the 58. So I'm
Hmm.
seeing the same thing as you're seeing in terms of scenarios. And so like that's kind of my outlook for the week.
No, that looks good. Yeah, just a matter of what actually happens, and of course, pending news, because
Right.
news can change everything. So
Correct.
there might be a little glimmer of hope for buyers, and then all of a sudden, OPEC might go ahead and put out another report about saying, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and increase production again," or we might get some more tension, some geopolitical tension that might scare oil prices higher.
Correct.
It's yeah, it's really hard to say. We can't really predict the news, although
Yeah.
there are some mega nerds out there that assign probabilities to what may happen. But that's fine and all that. All we could really do is trade on what we see. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think like any probes lower that we have, whether we linger or not is pretty much key, because if we test lower and then we just kind of fiddle around, that's not going to seem like a really strong case for this thing wanting to propel back up to the 6280s. It's more of okay, I don't think we've explored low enough to actually find buyers, so that's where we might magnet to that 5780,
Yeah.
so,
Agree.
or 5768, whatever it was.
I mean, those are all my scenarios. I'm not sure if you had anything else you wanted to share, or I mean, that's pretty much
I mean,
all I had. Yeah.
yeah, that's really much it. And since you mentioned the defect print, it would be really nice for the market to actually go back and fix that print. Clean up those singles, auction that area, and then say, okay, we auction it. Now what the fuck we do?
Yeah.
Well, either let's go up or let's go down. Just make up your mind. That would be nice. I want to have it to where we're patient enough to where we get into a key area. It's very clear on what's going to happen, because there's going to be some pretty good trades. Like if we get into that 5980 and we can get a swift rejection, taking a trade up to almost 63, that's a good $2 move. And then if it lingers around and doesn't give the rejection that we want, there could be a trade down to that 5770 area, which is not as much as 63, but still, either way, those are two huge gravitational pulls to play toward. Um, yeah, because that is a very clear, there's a very clear area just above 60 where price has either stayed above or below. So
Yes.
that's
Agree.
yeah. And hey, maybe it just kind of fills it all in, just decides to fuck around there for a few weeks. And that would be really shitty, because, when you have an LVN like this, that's a really good spot to take, a decisive trade. I guess the worst case scenario would be that we just start to diddle around in there and actually fill in that zone. Um, but, I don't think that will be the case, but we'll see.
Agree. And then I
Yeah.
guess one other thing is what we could expect is if that VPOC of either distribution, the upper one or the lower one, does not hold, then what we could expect is the market to just explore that opposite edge. So we don't really see value area high or value area low over here, but we can sort of imagine where where it is. Value area low could be uh value area low of this distribution maybe could be down to the 56s if this VPOC doesn't hold. And for
Hmm.
the upper distribution, if VPOC doesn't hold, so if 63s doesn't hold, we may see it come back up to 65 40s, which is the value area high of the upper distribution. So I think really when we have like a double distribution like this, I feel gives us it gives us nice targets to play towards, and it just gives us a very clean structure to work with for the week we're entering.
Yeah, most definitely. It also made a lot of sense this week about losing, the Friday that we had that action, that it looked like we were breaking out from some balance to explore higher. And the fact that we got shut down, like when we break from a balance area and we get rejected, back in, you start to question that balance area. Like, if you fail at a balance high, what's expected? We're definitely going to go ahead and test the balance low. And that's what we actually did on Thursday, which was pretty impressive. And I mean, we closed literally at the lows. So yeah, the market, the auction is behaving really nicely. This thing's not just going to go explore higher, get rejected, then come back to VPOC and just say, what now? Well, what now is all those buyers are wondering, oh shit, we couldn't get the market beyond up to, test 69 or even 70. Um, we are in trouble. So, release the Kraken, let all our orders go, sell, 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 and yeah, we
Yeah,
also had the end of month as well, so, which could have also been responsible for, a lot of the sell side pressure, but kind of like a perfect storm there.
yeah, and
But
it
uh,
yeah, I was gonna say like even the move lower, it carried well into first of month. So it's not like we just had end of month selling. It carried even over into the first of month where that trend maintained. It held. Like we did not hold these series of high lows, which the last swing was around 61.60. Instead, we kind of just broke right through it, and now it's just about where does the market go from here?
well, the good part is we have two big gravitational areas, so I guess we will find out how we treat that LVN just above 60. So yeah,
Agree.
that's a pretty good review. I can't think of anything else to add. Um, everybody's got their news feed and they keep an eye on news, so always be aware of the news, and just always have your stops in place because you never know when news might run over something. But yeah,
100%.
that's all I really have to add for today. So
Same.
that sounds good. All right.
All right.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope, yeah, then we'll just kind of see what plays on out, and let's see which of these scenarios plays out, if either. We're not. Even though our name is Nostradamus, and Nostradamus was a predictor of doom, and like all this shit, we are just simply giving scenarios that we want to take into action. This is our prep work to get an idea of how we're going to play the markets. To you know, so where it's kind of like a baseball player going through the batting cages and getting his swings in. Um, Maybe doing his homework on how a pitcher pitches, and so then when he's ready and he's waiting for that fat pitch at that opportunity, he takes a swing and maximizes his chances of knocking out a home run, if you want to use the baseball analogy. So yeah, we're not simply just throwing in orders and trying to trade areas. We want to see what happens and then take action depending on what kind of what kind of action comes in, and what kind of movement comes in, what kind of reactions take place, and we you know trade accordingly.
For
So
sure. And then I guess one last thing I would add, this is not financial advice. Disclaimer, not financial advice.
yeah,
This is
trading
for
derivatives is a risky business. Um, it involves great risk. Past what is it?
Past
Oh
performance is
shit.
not indicative of future results.
Yes,
This is
past
just for,
performance is not indicative of results. And this is
yeah.
just for entertainment purposes only. We have to say that because yeah, this is not a trade recommendation. We're not telling you to buy the fucking dip. We're not telling you to sell the fucking rip. Do your own homework. Um, yeah, pretty much it.
Yep.
Obey your stops. Be careful. Don't get your dick cut off out there. So
All right.
yeah.
I would say I think that's a good ending to the video. All right, everybody, take care. We will see you in next week's video. If there's some daily videos, just hit subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified for those. And that's all we got for today. Take care.
Cool. All right. Take care.